Так, ладненько. Давайте, короче, начнем, потому что, блядь, ну я не уверен, то что я просто отстримить не буду, ебать муку, сколько я буду сидеть.
Хорош! Ебать лучше просто, блядь.
Так. Давайте сейчас. Игра называется What Remains of Edith Finch. Погнали. Просто сколько... Ну, я не знаю, сколько его ждать. Очень долго, думаю, все-таки, блядь, это время затягивает, пиздец. Ну, он еще в повторе посмотрит, да? Мне надо будет ее подскачать. Какая игра? Dark Souls 3, двушку и 2 стрима. Так, так. Так. What Remains of Edith Finch. Так. Играл? Сколько? А, она такая небольшая, да? Погнали. А Мастек, он же пишет, бро, что он из этого, ну, тенге у него ЗП, видишь? Он из Казахстана. Качаем игру, мужики. Название игры я поменял, да. Ребят, не забывайте, вот правда, не забывайте, что вы можете меня поддержать на бусте, вот тут вот. Да. И вот здесь подписаться, чтобы трансляции не пропускать. Да, не забывайте, да, не забудьте. Так. Ну что, дорогие мои зрители, погнали. Погнали. Ну, отзывы. Overwhelming positive. Ты же в Ростове-на-Дону живешь. Да, в Ростове-на-Дону живешь. Сейчас я потише сделаю. Ебать. Ну, чуть, конечно. Вот так, да, идеально? Вот так, да, идеально? Или чуть погромче? То есть мастерволом я не буду тут вот это вот заниматься вот это за... Так, подожди. Слышишь, бля, а русский язык здесь можно поставить или нет, чтобы, ну, как бы, не хочется вот, ну, вот это переводом заниматься в голове. Есть она на русском или нет, кто-нибудь знает? Нету, да? Ну ладно. Ладно. А сабы они на русском? Так, а где они включаются? Сабы. Я даже не пойму. Блять, какой нахуй. А где сабы здесь врубаются, ребятки? Сабы на бусте? Как приятно это слышать. Сабы на бусте важнее, чем в игре? Согласен. Бля, я тупой, я не вижу просто. Оденьте сабы, ребят. Они, наверное, как-то потом появятся, да, или как? Запусти, если верить. Если будет не на русском, то только через путь. Так, сабов здесь не существует, да? Бля, Матрюшка, а как мне запустить? Скажи, что это значит? Путь. Куда это? Что это, блядь? Как эти сабы, бля, включить? Ебать. Ну давай мы узнаем, если они автоматически не включились.
A lot of this isn't going to make sense to you, and I'm sorry about that. I'm just going to start at the beginning, with the house.
Бля, ну, наверное, надо бы включить. Но вам похуй будет, какой язык тут будет? Или не похуй? Давай, спасибо большое, Мастек, что зашел. За поддержку, благодарю тебя. Спасибо. Ну ладно.
I lived here until I was 11, but I wasn't allowed inside half the rooms.
Короче, ей нельзя было в комнаты ходить, она с 11 лет тут живет. Половину комнат не
I hadn't
запрещено.
been back since my brother Lewis's funeral.
Я здесь не была с того момента, как... А что такое funeral? Как мой брат что-то там, блядь.
In her will, my mother left me a key, but didn't tell me what it unlocked.
Похороны. Моя... in her will... В завещании, или что там, моя мать left... Бля. But didn't
Maybe
tell
she
me
thought
what
I'd
it
know.
unlocked. Короче, дала ключ, который не
Or
знает, что
She
открывает.
thought that the mystery would be enough to bring me back.
Ну ладно.
No one had driven this way in a long time, but I saw a few hoof prints.
Никто здесь не ходил, но я вижу шаги. No one driven this way a long time, but I see footprints. Англичанского мне дохуя, конечно.
The truth is, even after I inherited the house, I never thought I'd come back to it.
Я вот не понял, after I inherited. Я не знаю, что это за слово.
But now I
Inherited
had
the house.
questions about my family that only the house knew the
Теперь у меня
answers to.
вопросы о моей семье. Только дом знает ответы. Он наследовал? Он.
The house was exactly like I remembered it, the way I'd been dreaming about it.
Дом не изменился. Он такой же, как во сне мне казалось.
As a child, the house made me uncomfortable in a way I couldn't put into words.
Когда я был ребенком, мне было некомфортно из-за дома, да, или что там. House
Now,
made me
as a 17-year-old,
uncomfortable in a
I
way.
knew exactly what those words were. I was afraid of the house.
Сейчас мне 17, я знаю, тара-тара-та-та, короче, боится дома.
Crawling through the doggy door used to be a lot easier when I was 11.
Пробираться через эту дырку, когда мне было 11 лет, было легче.
For the first time in years,
Первый раз за столько лет. Дверь
I felt
открылась.
like I was home.
Я почувствовала, что я дома.
But instead of a family, there were just memories of one. Like how after Lewis started working at the cannery, we all got sick of eating salmon. Except our cat, Molly. The table was still a wreck from the night we left.
Такой же в момент, как мы... Ночь, которую мы ушли из дома. А врек
It was
это
like
что
a bomb
такое?
had gone off, killing everyone but sparing the furniture.
Killing everyone, что-то там, furniture, что?
My mom was the only one of us who could imagine Great Grandma Edie living in a nursing home. Nothing in the house looked abnormal. There was just too much of it, like a smile with too many teeth.
Like a smile with...
Even the fireplace had a story. Edie told me the bricks came from the original house, after it sank.
Я вот не понял, что это значит. Even the fireplace had a story. Edith told me что-то там, блядь. Что это в контексте? Саник, приветствую.
Спасибо тебе, блядь! Братинка, нахуй! Спасибо, родной, блядь!
Спасибо большое, Герк. Эдди утонул. Ей кто-то рассказал, что этот камин построен из кирпичей старого дома, который затонул. Пон. Хорош, Сасаня.
Mom always told me to stay out of the basement, so I wasn't too surprised when the key didn't fit.
Мать говорила мне стоять, не подходить к этому подвалу. Я не удивлена, что ключ не подходит сюда. Может, в другую сторону надо, блядь, или что?
Great Grandpa Sven built a music box for Barbara, along with the rest of the house.
Здесь мы были везде, да? Ну так что, ты выспался? Как себя чувствуешь? Нормально? Так все. Не, 25 часов спать. Согласен, что, блядь.
My mom wasn't much of an optimist, but she never stopped believing that my brother Milton was alive.
Мама была оптимистка. Никогда не останавливалась. Думает, что брат жив, да?
Edie told me once that every Finch who ever lived is buried somewhere in the library.
Каждый Финч, кто жил, buried somewhere. Что такое buried? Не была оптимисткой? Захоронен где-то в библиотеке?
After Milton disappeared, Mom sealed up all the bedrooms.
After Milton disappeared, Mom sealed up all the bedrooms. Disappeared,
Then Edie
исчез, да?
retaliated and drilled peepholes.
Eddie retaliated and drilled peoples. Я не знаю, что такое peoples, блять. Drill peoples. Как это перевести, блядь? Drill peoples. Не была оптимисткой, но верила, что он жив, вон.
I spent a lot of time playing in Great Uncle Walter's room. I think my mom sometimes regretted not sealing it up.
Она играла часто в этой комнате, и мать, типа, ну, как сказать, то, что она эту комнату нахуй не закрыла, да, от нее, типа.
Lewis told me there were secret passages, but I never believed him.
Lewis told me there were secret passages, but I never believed him.
Turns out, my mom was really good at keeping secrets. Now it was time to find out what my mom
Я не
had been
понял, как
afraid of.
открыть. Да бля, бро, ну это заново надо, блядь. Да не, я типа...
From the paintings on the wall, it was clear my brother Milton had been here before me.
Короче, ее брат здесь был раньше, чем она.
Reading this, maybe it sounds like I had a plan.
Reading this, maybe it sounds like I had a plan.
but I had no idea what was behind that door.
Я не знала, что за этой дверью.
Just like I had no idea where all this was gonna lead. I grew up looking at Molly's room through the peephole. Being inside for the first time, I felt like I'd stepped behind a painting.
Привет.
December 13th, 1947. Dear Diary, I'll be gone soon, but I wanted to tell somebody about what's gonna happen. It started when Mom sent me to bed without dinner. I woke up and I was starving, so I looked around for something to eat.
Старвин как переводится, ребят?
My Halloween candy was all gone.
Конфеты закончились, стала похавать захотела.
The gerbil food was dry, but I didn't mind it. Mom, can I come out now?
Sweetheart, it's late. Go to sleep.
I kept eating and eating.
Фу, ебать.
I ate a lot of things that night. Then I heard chirping outside my window. It was a barn swallow going back to her nest. I reached out for her. And suddenly, I was a cat.
Шо?
I tried to be quiet, but the bird was really scared. I jumped and I almost got her. I could tell she was getting really tired. Now I was up in the big tree. I promised Dad I wouldn't climb it anymore. All I cared about was eating that mama bird. I gobbled her up. And suddenly, I was an owl. First, all I heard was the wind. Then I heard little teeth nibbling in the grass. Rabbits. just looking up and seeing mine through my talons. I swallowed him up, and I didn't chew one bit. Then I flew off to find something bigger. A mama rabbit. She was almost too big to carry. I started choking, but I couldn't stop eating. And suddenly, I was a shark. I rolled off the cliff and into the ocean. Now, I was hungrier than ever. I wanted fat, juicy seals. I tore off her flipper, and it tasted really good.
Охуеть. Бля, я не могу понять, у меня что-то... Я привык, блядь, что в таких играх инвертное, блядь, это управление, а оно тут обычное. Я не могу нормально привыкнуть к этой хуйне. Где, блядь, этот, сука, котик, блядь? Да, блядь, я рот ебал.
Grabbed on tight. When I was so hungry, I jumped out of the water. When I opened my eyes, everything had changed. Now I was a monster, and I smelled people everywhere.
Давай, Джеки, спокойной ночи.
I was big, but I moved
Привет, Джепс.
real quiet. I wanted to stop, but also I didn't.
Drunken sailor was really
belly with rusty razor, belly with rusty razor, belly with rusty razor.
After the last passenger, I was still hungry. And to cross the water, I smelled something new. Something I had to have, so I swam towards it. I slithered onto the sand, and the good smell went into an old pipe.
Игра, конечно, пиздец, да?
I got closer and closer. All of my stomach started growling. And suddenly, I was me again. I held my breath for a long time, but I couldn't hear anything. I think it's waiting for me to fall asleep. But it's not going to wait much longer. It needs to feed, and we both know I will be delicious.
I'm not sure if I believed all of that, but I'm sure Edie would have.
Надо чай налить, мужики. Пиздец, конечно, игра, блядь. Ебать. Ай, блядь, Маша, тут пиздец, а не игра. Если бы ты видела, что сейчас происходило, блядь. Провода, сейчас тоже куда-нибудь кракеном, куда-нибудь в какую-нибудь жопу залезу кому-нибудь, блядь. Ма, блядь. Он ходит, сука. Ай, блядь. Он ходит. Блядь, сука. Пиздец, да, Маш?
Molly's gerbil had a tiny bedroom with its own even tinier gerbil cage.
Что такое gerbil? Какие-то слова просто.
I can't describe it, but I felt like some part of Molly was still here.
Я не могу объяснить это, но мне кажется, частичка Молли здесь, да?
This will be obvious later, but my mom never told me any of these stories. Edie would have, but Mom didn't like bringing up the past. Though, when we adopted a stray kitten, she was the one who named it Molly. I spent a lot of time in Great-Grandma Edie's room.
Это спальня бабушки, да?
Edie knit me a new pair of gloves every year, just in time to replace the old ones. Louis died a week before we left, but Edie had already started to memorialize him. Her room was like a museum. For 500 years, the Finches have been famous throughout Norway for their fortune and misfortune.
Ты, кстати, понял, что с Молли-то? Ну, блядь. Это что, и сон приснился или что? Сейчас, секунду. Она обожралась хуйней и откисла через 2 дня, а Трипа это... А шо она там такого объелась, блядь? Шо она объелась? А, так их же не показывали вроде эти грибы или как? Ну, зубную пасту я видел, какое-то растение она прихавала, блядь. За кого? За нее? Это... Бля, матушка вообще нахуй не смотрит. Садись, 2 балла.
The only trace Grandpa Sam's first wife Kay left on the house was the pink bathroom. It was a pretty big trace.
блядь!
There's a secret in this bathroom. It's in the last place you would look. It isn't in the cupboard. It's hidden in this book.
Хуясь. Bathroom, блядь.
Sven gave Sam an old camera he'd refurbished. He never put it down.
Бам, блядь!
I knew Grandpa Sam had a twin. And that he never talked about him. I guess my grandpa didn't like history any more than my mom did.
How I Want to Remember My Brother by Sam Finch. The thing I remember is that when he made up his mind, that was it. My brother said he'd die before he ate another mushroom, and he did. At Barbara's funeral, he swore he'd never be afraid again, and he wasn't. I think Calvin always wanted to fly.
Sam! Calvin! Dinner's ready! Coming!
But that day, he finally made up his mind to do it. I told him going around was impossible. Maybe if I hadn't said that,
Calvin! I'm not gonna tell you again!
maybe if the wind hadn't picked up, then maybe he'd still be here. But I doubt it. I think he'd already made up his mind. That's what I want to remember about my brother. The day he made up his mind to fly. And he did.
Ну вот тут про грибы, да, написали? Типа,
Calvin's story felt strangely familiar. When I was younger, I remember trying to do the exact same thing.
да, я так понял. Вот сейчас только написали, блядь. Ну тут было написано mushrooms, типа.
After the funeral, Edie roped off Calvin's half of the room. Mom said Grandpa Sam enlisted at 18 and never set foot in the room again. passages were a pretty tight fit. They'd obviously been built for smaller hands and bellies. Growing up, I always thought of Barbara as a child star.
Про качелю понял. Ну, разбился. Ну, в смысле, флай там, что-то там.
I never thought about how hard it must have been for her afterwards.
Или я не прав?
Of all the stories people wrote about Barbara's death, I'm surprised Edie saved this one.
Old Jack here with another.
Ну, в обрыв, да,
ghastly
да. Ну, в
tale
смысле, упал.
Inspired by America's most unfortunate family. I'm calling it the surprise ending of Barbara Finch. As a child star, Barbara was famous for her scream. Now at 16, she was all washed up. A has-been. But in a lucky break, she'd been asked to perform her signature scream at a local convention for monster movie fans. It was just the boost her career needed. Unfortunately, her scream hadn't aged well.
Getting better. I think you just need the right motivation.
Her biggest fan and current boyfriend, Rick, was about to demonstrate when...
Now that was a great scream.
It was Barbara's father, Sven. He'd slipped into a table saw and had to be rushed to the emergency room. So Barbara got stuck babysitting her youngest brother, Walter. Her convention comeback was cancelled.
Okay, I'm hearing frustration, but I'm not hearing terror. What if I tried...
A gang of hoodlums in Halloween masks have been terrorizing Orcas Island tonight. Police are urging residents to...
That came from the basement.
You're right! Also, I loved your delivery on that. Why is your basement door locked?
Because my dad likes making puzzles and secret passages. There's a key hidden in the music box. The secret is to keep winding and winding until finally the key pops out.
Thanks, babe. I'll be back in a sec.
20 minutes later, Rick hadn't returned. So Barbara went to look for him, right on cue. She reached for the music box.
Бля, не было ни русских, ни настройки нету, ни, блядь, субтитров русских, ничего нет. Привет, Кокусь.
And as she wound the key, she listened for Rick, but the house was silent. She found Rick's crutch and imagined the worst.
The gang's leader is the infamous Hookman Killer, Dr. Carl Hamill, who impaled and then ate his family 10 years ago tonight.
The old fridge rattled and grew still.
relax. I was just trying to scare you to help you find your scream.
Well, I'm not scared, Rick. I'm furious.
Then act furious. All I'm getting from you now is that you're hurt and confused and
She threw him out, but she kept a little something to remember him by.
Barb, have you seen my other crutch?
And she was still holding it when she fell asleep watching the late picture show. Hours later...
Barbara! Walter, what's going on up there? Ah! Okay, I'm coming up, but if this is a trick, you're dead, Walter.
Тут даже настроек нету, чтобы язык менять, понял?
Walter, are you there? Walter had vanished, but his bedside radio was still on.
Orcas Island police describe the man as 6 feet tall, with a steel hook for a hand. Residents are urged to lock all doors and windows and notify the police of any suspicious activity.
Barbara turned, saw the hook man, and was speechless. He was quite smashing. And where he was, he couldn't get enough of Barbara.
Okay, Barbara, there's gotta be another way out of here.
That night, she played her part beautifully. She thought about abandoning Walter, but just couldn't do it. Molly's door hadn't been opened in years. The hinges groaned. He wasn't moving, but she sensed the story might not be over yet. The hookman had vanished. She listened for his breathing, but all she heard was... Someone at the door was dying to speak to young Barbara. At the door, she heard whispering. It was coming from inside the house.
Oh dear.
Тут даже такого нету, братан, опшенсов.
The monsters had come to surprise her. For Barbara, it was a dream come true. Then she saw what kind of monsters they were, and she realized what was about to happen. She was going to be famous. And with her final breath, Barbara Finch gave the performance of her life. I wasn't there myself, but I hear Barbara was magnificent. Poor girl. She had a taste for stardom. But unfortunately, so did her fans. Of course, the police blamed it all on poor Rick, who disappeared the same night. And little Walter? Hiding under his bed the whole time. He took it all pretty hard, but that's another story. As for Barbara, tucked inside the music box is all they ever found of her. Her ear. Now that's what I call a real eerie tale.
Edie told me all Barbara wanted was to be remembered, as absurd as that comic was. Maybe what Edie saw was a happy ending.
Ну давай я попробую, как матрешка говорит, хуй его знает. Ну, оно, если я выйду, я потом play нажму, он продолжит с этого момента, да? Игру. Или как? Дарктайм, приветствую. Так. Что надо делать, Дарктайм? Фу, Дарктайм говорит от матрешка. Подожди, стоп. А тут... Привет, турочки! Интересно, а если... Сейчас. Мере, мере, вере, пере, дере, хуере, вере, щере, мере, тере, вере, бере, блядь. А, ебать, она... Фу, блядь. Слышь, ее надо было в стиме просто язык поменять, понял? Не в самой игре. Охуеть, не встать. Но я только начал. Типа, это... Я тут только вот этих закрыл. Ну, я, в принципе, понял. Вот эта малая отравилась чем-то. Потом вот, вот этот, блядь, малой въебался, блядь, с этого, с горы, блядь. Вот тут я единственное не понял, ёбнули ее или что там получилось. Бля, прикинь, я думал здесь... Very wow, Clockwork, very wow. Бля, я спросил у вас, блядь, просто... Я повелся на чат. Я спросил, здесь есть русский язык, блядь? Мне сказали, нету. Только, блядь, сабы, блядь, или что-то такое. Короче, несколько человек мне сказали, что тут нету русского языка, я хуй знаю. И я повелся на эту хуйню, и даже не прочекал. Чат наебал, да. Привет, Никит. Кто сказал бан? Кто сказал, тот лох, согласен.
It's funny. I guess now I know why Mom didn't like me playing with the music box. Never found the basement key. Edie's father, Odin, built the original house. Whenever people ask me about my family, the first thing they always want to know about is Barbara. Barbara was a child star for 2 years, until America grew out of it.
А Барбара и Барбарики это одно и то же?
Mom must have locked the third floor stairs on the night we left. I wonder if that comic was right about there being a key inside the music box near the basement. My Grandpa Sam spent 7 years sharing a room with his dead brother, Calvin.
Рейдж, здорово.
Maybe I should go check out that music box down by the basement.
Бля, у меня такое ощущение, что Dark Time пользуется своим баром не только по ночам. И когда просыпается тоже, блядь. А чё ты в основном пьешь? Я понял, ты говорил, ты бар замутил. Чё там у тебя? Какая-то модная хуйня?
Mom said the basement was off limits, unless I wanted another tetanus shot.
Короче, Маша, ты поняла, да? Если в Ростов.
I saw
В
Edie
Ростове
sneak down to
будешь,
the
вот есть
basement
человек
once,
хороший.
carrying packages.
40 бутылок у него, блядь, разных. С пакетами?
I thought maybe she was hiding presents. It turned out she was hiding a lot more than that.
Так он, по-моему, блядь, пьет этот, да? Мистер этот. Кажется, скрывалось нечто большее, да?
I remember asking Mom once about where Walter had gone. She said after Barbara died, he got as far away as he could.
А вот этот егермейстер,
If there's a
это
pattern in all
что-то
these
считается
stories-
хорошее, да?
I think it's that none of us has gotten very far.
А нету такой хуйни, вот когда люди пьют это, что им кажется, что они лекарства пьют? Нету такого ощущения?
Goodbye, everyone. I can't believe I've been down here for 30 years. On that first day, after the shaking started, I didn't think I'd survive a week. But after a few days, I settled into a routine. That's what kept me sane. Having a schedule, living for today.
Персики?
I always expected to be dead tomorrow. But if you wait long enough, you get used to anything. Even a monster on the other side of the door starts to feel normal. Almost friendly. And then one day, everything just stopped. Whatever that thing was, it was gone.
Ну не болейте, блядь.
Maybe it got tired of waiting. Or maybe I just got tired of being afraid. It's been a week now, the longest in 30 years. I'm done waiting.
Блядь, Маш, ну
I have
персики
to
жрать
leave.
каждое утро,
Well, I
нахуй,
still can.
консервированные. Там не только, блядь, руки. А что это такое? Вот это что-то написал Глин, что-то там.
I know it's out there somewhere. Whatever killed Barbara and Molly and Calvin. Maybe this is all a mistake. But I need to stop living the same day, even if it kills me. Whatever's out
Шотландский виски.
I
А
want you to
виски
know.
это,
there, I'm ready for it.
грубо говоря, у него какой-то отдельный вкус, или он на что-то похоже, стандартное, типа водки там или что-нибудь такое?
I'm going to appreciate all of it, especially the food. I don't mind if I only have a year left. Or a month. Or a single week. I'd be happy with one new day. I can already imagine the sun on my face.
Его сбил поезд. Охуенно. Водка с чаем, типа, да, Трак? И что
Walter
это?
died when I
И
was
что это
6.
людям
I
нравится,
can't
да?
believe my mom never told me he was down here. I'm sure my mom was trying to protect me. Maybe she was afraid I'd end up like Walter. But if she never told me about an uncle under the house, I can only imagine what else she was hiding. I don't want to make the same mistakes she made. Trying to bury something that's still alive. Now that there's only one of us left, or maybe two, I thought it was time I heard the stories for myself and found out what happened to everyone else. But now I'm worried the stories themselves might be the problem. Maybe we believed so much in a family curse, we made it real.
Wait.
I don't know if I should even be writing this. Maybe it'd be better if all this just died with me. But I thought you should know about your family. And the history you're a part of. Though to be honest, I feel as lost as you probably do right now. I think the people in these stories believed them, for what that's worth. And when you look at the house, that history of imagination and stubbornness and madness, any of it seems possible. I think we've been surrounded by death for so long, we've just gotten used to it. What kind of family finishes building a cemetery before starting the house?
Mm-hmm.
It's embarrassing for me to admit this, but the pet cemetery made me more uncomfortable than the human one. 3 of the gerbils were mine, and 2 had been my fault.
Бёрпи, бёрпи, дёрпи, фёрпи, лёрпи, блядь, зёрпи.
Sven built the house, but it was Edith who designed the cemetery. I'm sure Odin's monument had been Edie's idea. My mom was always trying to move on, but for Edie, the past never went away. She could see it poking out of the water at low tide. Edie said she dreamed about the old house every night. Edie's side was always easier for me to understand. But the older I get, the more I can see where my mom was coming from. She lost 2 of her brothers, just like I did. I get why she tried so hard to protect us. There's so many things I wish I could ask my mom now. Part of me thinks this is what she wanted all along. For me to come back someday and find everything out for myself. But looking back on it now, if she told me there was going to be so much climbing, I never would have come when I was 22 weeks
Такую
pregnant.
хуйню лучше не пиши, тебе сам Twitch может забанить. Понял? Ну то есть у них искусственный интеллект, боты хуярят, понял?
I never met Grandpa Sam, but I think he and my mom had a lot in common. They were both pretty intense. Instead of hiding from death, Sam seemed to go out of his way to meet it.
Dawn, I promise, you'll never forget this weekend.
Yes, sir.
These memories are gonna last a lifetime.
Hmm? Am I gonna have to shoot anything?
It's a hunting trip, Dawn. Shooting is strongly encouraged.
What?
Perfect.
It's gonna rain the whole weekend, isn't it?
please just take the damn picture?
Hey, language.
Did you want to get a picture of me or what? I will never forget this weekend, Dad.
That's the spirit. Okay, got it.
Всю хуйню
I'm gonna take
отфотографировал.
some pictures, okay?
Just be careful. The camera's older
Кроме,
than you
блядь.
are.
Того, что надо.
You're right, Dad. It's starting to clear up. Still freezing, though. Aw.
Так а что я, блядь, еще не сфоткал? Долину. Птичек я же, блядь, пофоткал уже, да? Небо вроде уже было.
Definitely should not have drunk all that coffee.
А,
Hold still while I take a...
Hey!
That's a keeper.
Nothing quite like being outside. I'm just saying, I'm not always gonna be here, Don. You'll need to remember this stuff, if you want to survive.
I'll be fine, Dad.
You know who else thought he was gonna be fine?
Some guy who died.
Don, I'm being serious.
I know, Dad. You're always serious. Doesn't being out here make you want to chill out?
Well, to tell you the truth, I haven't been out here in 20 years. Last time I was with my brother Calvin. Man, that was a great trip. Your grandpa's Fen taught us how. Don, don't you think you could find something more interesting to photograph? We found an old logging trail. There were deer everywhere. I bet if I could remember where that trail was, we'd spot a buck for you in no time. Give me a minute to check the map. You don't need to waste any more film on me, kiddo. Let's see.
Dad!
Good eyes, Don. Before you take the shot, let me get a picture of you.
Dad,
Let me get behind you.
do I have to do this?
Don, you don't have to do anything. But if you want to survive, you'll need to be strong. Great shot, Don! I'm proud of you, Dawn. Always remember that, okay? Sorry, Dawn. Just gotta reset the timer.
Dad, it's twitching. I think
That's
it's
totally normal, Dawn. Just focus on the camera. Try not to think about.
Dad! Of all these stories, that's the one I wish most that my mom had told me.
Блять. Ну, жалко. Жалко. Ич. Выйти нельзя отсюда? Через дверь, да? Я... Зачем? Я ж хочу выйти.
After Sam died, my mom and Edie got really close. They'd both lost a lot.
Dear Kay, do you remember the way Gregory used to laugh when he thought he was alone? Like something funny was happening, but only he could see it. I think he saw things the rest of us don't.
Gregory, it's time to... Hold on, sweetie. Hello? Sam, I told you I don't want to talk right now.
I wonder what he saw. What his world was like. He reminded me so much of Calvin. Lost in his imagination. I know how silly it sounds.
on. I don't want Gregory to hear this.
I wish he could have told us about the world he saw. There's so much I don't understand about Gregory, about everything. But I know what happened wasn't your fault. I'm sure he's happy. And he'd want you to be happy too. Good luck, Kay. Love, Sam.
Чат, вам когда-нибудь возвращали забытые вещи, мобилу там или кошель? Оставила мобилу в такси, пиздец, водила, даже трубку не берет. Бля, ну у тебя ник монстр, ебать. Может он не хочет связываться с монстрами лишний раз. Ты не думал об этом?
My mom moved up to the loft after her brothers died.
Я бы не стал.
At the time, it was as far away as she could get.
Да, графика интересная. Да, блядь, на самом деле много игр таких прикольных, разных. А вообще, если ты заказывала по приложению, ты можешь позвонить и сказать, вот я с такого-то номера заказывала такси, если это, блядь, какой-нибудь там, хуй знает, Яндекс. Ну, короче, им написать. У водителя забыла телефон, он не отвечает. Я думаю, в принципе, это разрулится. Да, блядь, кто сейчас будет пиздить, блядь, телефон, если что, ты не переживай. В 2023 году это, блядь, никто его не будет трогать.
Religion was another thing my mom never talked about, but I think it helped her a lot after her dad died.
Миш, подари девочке подписку, чтобы она не горевала, блядь. Ну телефон забрали, ну как, блядь.
I can't imagine what it was like
И
for
не
her to lose
отдают.
2 sons after she'd already lost 2 brothers. She spent a summer building houses in Calcutta, where she met my dad, Sanjay.
Подари девочке новый телефон. Я бы тогда тебя попросил, матрешка, чтобы эта шутка вдвойне смешная была, блядь.
My mom moved to India a week after graduation and got a job teaching English. Lewis was born a year later.
Я бы умножил. Скай, Соня, здорово. Умножил смешновость.
When my dad died, I don't think Mom knew where else to go. I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back. And to see kids in the house again. The house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that.
Вид вот этот, я не знаю, как это называется, веранда, дереве, так все сделано.
And for a while, things were good. Almost normal.
Видок найс, но не тот видок, да? Бля, видок, кстати, вроде вылечился. У него же была хуйня, что-то со спиной связано. Там какую-то или грыжу, блядь, или что-то там пиздец какой-то у него был. Ну, я у него спрашивал, говорит, норм. Он же в Германии живет, там медицина вроде как. Not bad at all.
But it didn't last.
Лечился и перестал
Beginning
стримы
at the end
смотреть.
was Milton's
Да я
10th
смотрю в
birthday,
этих,
when Edie gave him a castle.
в Крузейдерсов играют сейчас или что-то такое.
After Milton disappeared, the only thing he left behind was a room full of paintings.
Блять, она мне что-то напоминает, эта игра. Как будто бы что-то я такое уже... Не, я вряд ли такое играл. Видел недавно, короче, головоломку какую-то, блять. Типа вот, ты идешь, что-то делаешь, ну, блять, там я так пару буквально минут посмотрел влоги Сэнбоя, да. Там геймплей такой, вот ты стоишь, например, смотришь море, да, а это море, оно типа картонное, его обойти там надо. Ну, короче, такая, поняли, хуйня, вот тоже подобного плана. Какая-то, она недавно вышла, я так понял. Доту напоминает. Доту напоминает. Бля. Дай ему 10 минут, нахуй, матрюшка. Доту напоминает. Блядь, сука. Ай, блядь, я не могу, это пиздец. Сука, блядь, ой, блядь. Ой, блядь, каникулы нахуй, фу, блядь, сразу видно, блядь, каникулы у человека, каникулы, блядь. Сука, каникулы, блядь, каникулы, да, каникулы.
Milton Finch in The Magic Paintbrush.
Волшебные кисточки. Ванек, тут нету отчима твоего, блядь. Осуждаю на всякий случай. Блядь, ладно. Ладно, нормально. Ладно, да. Понял.
I was 4 when Milton disappeared.
Понял. Приятная игра. Да. Да чё не очень, ебать, почему? Почему не очень? нельзя тут, кроме этого.
Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors.
Игра неплохая, но напряженная.
Whatever Milton had found in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out.
Хз. Но я не чувствую напряга никакого. Ты имеешь в виду напряг в смысле, что тут вникать
Mom
надо
definitely blamed
в сюжет
Edie, but I think
немножко,
Lewis
чтобы...
blamed himself. After he graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room. Until Mom got him a job at the cannery. Everyone always told me to stay out of Lewis's room. Except Lewis. Lewis's room smelled
чья комната, мужики?
very familiar. That part of him lived on.
Ебать.
Lewis and I spent a lot of time playing games together, but he was surprisingly bad at them. He died a lot.
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Lewis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Lewis first noticed the monotony of his daily life. He kept working at the cannery, but he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to wander. I asked him to describe it. He said he started small, imagining a labyrinth. He'd feel his way about.
Бро, так мне не надо рыбу резать, я ж уже, ну, это я играю за человечка. А, или надо резать? А, лол, это одновременно делать? Шо?
And things that have not names. He knew it was all in his head. He took it very seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself. But he found something more. I worried about him then. Daydreaming at the cannery. I spoke with his boss. But he said Lewis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused. Like a whole new Lewis. So I let him go on. I even encouraged him. It seemed very promising at first. He told me he'd made a new friend. On the edge of a city he named Lewis Tokyo. He built the city up slowly, brick by brick. Then he made musicians.
Бля, есть эта игра мужика?
And
Мужика.
songs for them to play.
Мужика, блядь, ля, я уже сам нахуй поехал. Мужика есть
He talked about starting a band.
эти игры, блядь. Мужика.
And he was always humming something. Every day his imagination grew stronger. He no longer
Мужика
spoke at the
тебе не
piano,
хватает.
but his chopping was as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him that all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination, so he could do whatever he wished. He held an election for mayor, and he won. They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering. It became a game for him. He'd conquer a city, then immediately push on. New Louisville. St. Louis. He started drifting away from our reality. Minneapolis. Until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery. Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Lewis kept sailing on. In Lewisburg, he heard rumors of a handsome queen.
Чат. Давайте без этого.
The queen was on her own quest for sinister serpents. He followed the sound of her silver harp. His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound. He knew the world was all in his imagination. he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king. For someone who'd never known success in the
Я
real world, I think it was
готовлюсь, ебать. Подготовка
And then it
после
struck me
стрима, блядь.
that the real Lewis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace. My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him. We began to forget the world we know. I think it pained him to remember Lewis, the cannery worker. He began to despise the man with a royal contempt. I still thought I could save him. Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The palace would be packed with his companions. Including the wise Calico who'd insisted on advising me. His queen waited, holding his crown.
Корона это какой-нибудь нож фабричный, блядь, под который хуярят рыба. А, ну понятно.
And the rest I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
Сейчас я подойду, ребят. Так, сори, я, блядь, пошел за чаем, в скобках поел, блядь. Сори. Сори. Так, а сколько еще персонажей осталось? Так-то. Получается 1, 2, 3. Трое, да?
On the way back from Lewis's funeral, my mom told me to start packing. She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie. I'm not sure if she
Чуть больше часа, бля, может я завтра тогда доиграю, Кокосик, ты не против? Не, я никого не пропускал. Оно идет просто по этим, понял? Короче, ну как сказать, блядь. Оно тебя ведет, понял? Ты не можешь проебаться. Или уже сегодня добить. Ладно, давай сегодня я добью его. Просто не знаю, во сколько ты проснешься.
I wish we'd stayed. But I understand why we left. My mom ended up leaving everything behind. What happened that night had been coming for a long time. Maybe it should have come sooner. But it had to end one way or another. All that's left now is to tell you about that last night. That whole
Или я
last
реально
day,
кого-то пропустить мог.
Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
"To our final night together, and all our final nights apart."
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go over?
Можно пропустить, да?
The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
the power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles. When my mom sealed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance, or that Edie had a key to it.
Как тебе игра? Такая медитативная.
The thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house. Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories. I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight. We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning. Okay?
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out. It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years. God, it smelled awful. You know, I've seen that house every day of my life. But I never thought I'd go back to it. When the fog rolled in, I lost my way. I got turned around. For a while, I wondered. I started seeing things. Things I'd forgotten had ever existed. But when I saw them, they felt like old friends. That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them. Things I can't explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
It's mine.
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it! Let go! I kicked and screamed, but Mom dragged me to the car. I never saw Great-Grandma Edie again. The next morning, the band came to pick her up, but she was already gone. After that, we moved around a lot. We both tried to make the best of it. A few years went by. My mom didn't like to talk about it, but she started getting sick a lot. The rest happened pretty quickly. She got better for a while, and then she didn't. And then I was alone. The last Finch left alive. Until I found out about you. I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes. And appreciate how strange and brief all of this is. This journal was supposed to be for you. But now I hope you'll never see it. I just want to meet you and tell you all these stories myself. But I guess if you're reading this now, things didn't work out that way. This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
Да что здесь чернушного, ебать? Что ты называешь чернушным? Ну просто история не со знаком, которая заканчивается не со знаком плюс, ебать, и все, блядь. Блять. Ну... Хуй знает. Трак, а что ты тут делаешь на фотографии? Слева, ебать. Стоит покупать эту игру? Слушай, ну она такая своеобразная, хуй знает. Но я думаю, тем, кто ее посмотрел, наверное, вряд ли. А кто не играл, наверное, кто не смотрел, туда. Посыл такой, что если ты хочешь задонатить, донать, не жди. Потому что завтра можешь не задонатить. Если ты хоть сидишь и хочешь перебить прикольчик месяца, ну перебей. Не жди. Теперь есть возможность повторить историю, чтобы начать с самого начала. Что это значит? А, повторить просто... А для чего это что-то дает? А, просто пересмотреть? Понял. Слушай, ну неплохая игра. Такая лайт. Не только, я еще вот какого-то Одина не нашел. 2 получается. Да. Ладно. Спасибо большое, Кокосик, за игру. Благодарю тебя. Так, следующая игра у меня получается Black and White. Единственное, наверное, мне надо будет попросить помочь с ней, потому что она нигде не продается. Она нигде не продается. Кто бы рассеял тоску донатом на булочку? Да, тоскливо очень. Так. Могу вам рассеять тоску гифтом на бусти. Лутайте, мужики. Я не знаю, правда, заберите гифтик, парни. На бупсти. Кто не подписан. Короче, я сегодня не знаю, буду ли я стримить на бусти или нет. Но если буду, я в ТГ отпишу. Всем спасибо, кто был на стриме. Всех от души благодарю. До next включения получается. Всем хорошего дня. Пока-пока. Надо отдохнуть чуток. Не болейте.